setting you up for the NBA playoff run. That's what we do right here on the Sports Grid Network on the early line Friday morning. And boy, what a big NBA weekend it's going to be. Once again, doubleheader tonight. We'll get to that a little bit later in the show. We are focusing our thoughts right now on the big boys in the NBA already securing their seeds and already securing their game times, which we have 4 games to go on Saturday. Starts at 1 o'clock, ends at 8:30 at night. Great stuff by the NBA. We should all be watching and having fun. And I got to tell you, maybe the series with the most intrigue right off the bat. How about this? The number 3 seeded Timberwolves taking on the 6 seeded Phoenix Suns in round number 1. Lining this series up, money line, Phoenix, minus 140. You want the dog price here for Minnesota? It's a plus 114. If you're looking to lay the spread in the series as a minus 1.5 for Phoenix, that's a plus 118, and Minnesota at a minus 144. If we're expecting this to be a short series in 4 games, the odds makers are not. Plus 470 for it to end in a sweep. 5 games plus 250. The favorite, 6 games at plus 185 and 7 games at a plus 230. Let's start right here. The T-Wolves that were battling for the number 1 seed for the majority of the NBA regular season lost Karl Anthony Towns for about a month, similar to the Philadelphia 76ers with Joel Embiid. They didn't tank. They actually got a very good finish to the season, but just couldn't overtake the Denver Nuggets and or the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now we're taking a look at the Phoenix Suns. All we asked for, Joe, all season long was for Phoenix to be healthy with their big 3 by the time we got to the playoffs. We have that now. What a series between the T-Wolves and the Suns on deck for us.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great series because in one hand you have a Minnesota team that is defensively the most elite team in the NBA. And Orlando's been good, and teams that we consider defensive-minded teams, there is nobody better than Minnesota. I mean, what they have done statistically this year on the defensive side has been phenomenal. It's why they have been as good as they have been. You take that, and now you put it up against maybe one of the best 3-headed monsters offensively in the game here with Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Bradley Beal, who, you know what, are going to make Rudy Gobert useless in this game because they're not going to be driving to the basket so he can swat them and defend the rim. Booker, Durant, and Beal are 3 guys that can create their own shot. We just kind of saw this towards the end here when those 3 guys are rolling, and they are 3 guys, well, at least 2 of the 3 have unbelievable playoff experience here. There is no defense in the world that's going to slow them down. It's just not. So I think it's going to be a fantastic series. Do you believe in defense? If you do, well, then you probably are leaning towards Minnesota. If you like offense and think there's no way, even as good as Minnesota has been, that Booker, Durant, and Beal can beat you in a 7-game series, then you're all over Minnesota. I think it's got 6-7 games written all over it.
It's going to be a great one to watch. Now, going back to the preseason, right? And again, that thought process of, wow, look at the Phoenix Suns and the frontline talent that they have. And quite frankly, a better bench than what they had last year. In the playoffs, it was like, okay, Kevin Durant score 40, Devin Booker score 40, and everybody else, can you please help us out a little bit, which included DeAndre Ayton. Didn't work out in their favor because they didn't have a bench. Grayson Allen just got re-upped by Phoenix here to a monster deal, making close to $70 million over 4 years. He's been a very good benefactor of the big 3, missing some game time, which allows him to get his shots up during the regular season. So maybe he's more equipped here to help them end or in the starting lineup and off the bench. But my question to you is this. All season long, I know we said, just get the big 3 to the playoffs here. Joe, have we seen enough out of the big 3 to trust them in the playoffs with that cohesiveness?
Well, I mean, think about what we have seen from this team, right? From, I believe it was the end of December 28th through the end of the season, the Suns went 34-18. They were top 10 in the league in offense and defense, as a matter of fact, and they had a positive net rating that also kept them in the top 6 or 7. So this team started slowly because Beal didn't play a lot. The big 3 were not playing early on in the season. But the minute that they stepped on the court at the end of the year through the end of the regular season, once Phoenix got healthy, this team really started to play the kind of basketball that we're seeing right now, right? They have gone on unbelievable runs. They also went to 3-0 against Minnesota this year with that win a couple of weeks ago. That's a three-headed monster that is absolutely going to be tough to beat 4 out of 7 games. They are going to need much better efforts from Edwards and company than what we saw this year, because I think combined in the 3 games, he only scored 40-some-odd points. They're going to need more from him. You can't just rely on defense against a team that has a three-headed monster shoot you out of the arena on any given night. So a lot, and I mean a lot, is going to ride on how Edwards plays in this series.
Take a look at the tail of the tape between the two teams here again. 3 seed here for the Timberwolves, 6 seed for the Suns. Minnesota Timberwolves 56-26 on the season. The Phoenix Suns 49-33. Both of these teams very good on offense. 113 points per game here for Minnesota. For Phoenix, 116. But obviously we know the defensive capabilities of the Timberwolves, holding teams to around 106 points per game. Now, sometimes you want to take a look back at the regular season and see the head-to-head matchups. How about this? The Suns, a perfect 3-0 against Minnesota. So we know the playoffs technically is a new season, but how do you draw back, Joe, to say, you know what? All 3 games, Phoenix won all 3 of those games. Does that play into your mind for this series coming up?
Styles make fights, Donnie, right?
Yeah.
And for as good as they are defensively, it all begins and ends with protecting the rim. They don't give up second chance points, right? They defend the rim. They block your shots. You're not getting points in the paint against Minnesota. The problem is Phoenix doesn't want points in the paint against Minnesota. Phoenix is going to take all those mid-range jumpers and pass the ball, and now you've got Booker, you've got Durant and Beal, any guy that can absolutely destroy you, and they did a pretty good job of that. We saw the Styles make fight, right? We saw it 3 times this year. And I'll go back even further. Anthony Edwards is 1-11 in 12 career meetings against Devin Booker. Edwards is not even going to be the best guy on the court. It's going to be Booker and Phoenix. Do you believe in defense wins in championship situations? Then you like Minnesota. If you think offense wins, nobody's got more of it than Phoenix.
That's true. And also, speaking about offense here, superstars everywhere, all over the court in this series in a fun little market at the FanDuel Sportsbook. You can pick the series points leader. The leader in the clubhouse right now at FanDuel, Anthony Edwards, plus 170 price. Devin Booker, plus 210. Kevin Durant, plus 260. Then some of the longer shots here. Karl Anthony Towns, plus 850. Bradley Beal, 22-1. Grayson Allen, 65-1. Who gets your vote here? Who leads this series in points, Joe?
Oh, listen, I think Booker does. He has proven it time and time again that he is a guy in this stage that will show up. And I think Durant will play that role of, if I have to be, I will. But I do still think it's Devin Booker's time this time of year here. I think he will rise to the occasion and be the leading scorer when it's all said and done.
Saturday at 3:30, this game will tip off. Suns and the Timberwolves. We take a look here at the FanDuel Open. This line at a -2. It still sits at a -2. Total in this game opened up 214.5. Sits at 214 here as a live number. Take a look at some of the analytics from FanDuel on where these bets are actually going. 58% of the spread bets coming in on Phoenix here. 57% of the money. The Minnesota Timberwolves are a 2-point favorite here in this game. So who gets game number 1 in Minnesota for you, Joe?
Yeah, I think home court is going to be valuable in this one. I think Minnesota will hold serve, and then I think the adjustments that we see Phoenix make are going to be interesting for game 2. I think this is an alternate zigzag kind of series here, Donnie.
It's going to be a good one to watch. I'm most fascinated with this one to see how it turns out. And also, game number 1 is going to be massive here. Phoenix can steal home court advantage from Minnesota. That would be huge for them. But we'll find out who takes game number 1 tomorrow afternoon as the NBA playoffs gets rolling here. Next series, we're going to take a look at the Nuggets and the Lakers. I promise, an unbiased opinion, unlike some on the network, sort of rooting on a certain team here. We'll find out next who wins the series on the early line.